Welcome to our channel, Master the Life. Today we are going to have a special guest, Mrs. Ketki Gokhale. So let's welcome Ketki. Hello, Ketki. Welcome to
Okay.
Master the Life.
Hello, thank you.
Thanks for being here today to share your thoughts with us about yoga. So Ketki is a yoga master. She is got an MSc degree in yogic science in Bangalore, India, and she's also done a diploma course in yoga and therapy. So she's been teaching about like 15 years, and her wide audiences are from the UK, India, and US, predominantly covering a little bit parts, across the globe as well, I guess. So today, let's see what we can get out of the session, and hopefully, if even at least one person, if we could, influence and motivate to take up yoga, that would be the best blessings. So yeah, let's go for it. So can you introduce yourself, Ketki?
Hello everyone, and thank you Subha for arranging this lovely interaction. So I am Ketki Gokhale, originally from Mumbai, and I have done my graduation in BSc Home Science, specialized in interior designing. But later on, as a hobby, I started doing yoga, and while doing few courses like summer camps, I developed that inclination, and my teachers encouraged me to, do a teacher's training course and to become a yoga teacher. And that point, I felt, oh, can I become a yoga teacher? So that was a big, whole new field for me. But then I took it as a challenge, and I thoroughly enjoyed doing my teacher's training course, because in that course I learned about Hatha Yoga, which was completely new for me. It started with doing, cleansing techniques, which is called as Kriyas. So yoga starts basically to make your body clean internally. So we used to do kriyas in the morning, because our course used to start right from 7 in the morning. So then we went through, and our teachers beautifully taught us asanas, Surya Namaskar, bandhas, mudras. So basically, the practical side of yoga I learned from that course. And then while doing that course, I gradually tried, means I realized that yoga is not only practicing asana and pranayam, but it is much vast and more than that. So it has got its philosophical side, it has got its therapeutic side. So I did my 2 years diploma from Mumbai University, where I learned the philosophy of yoga. That is, they covered some, area of Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta, Sankhya philosophy, and Patanjali Yoga Sutras. So I came to know the philosophical side from these courses, and then I was searching for, yoga therapy, where I can get that hands-on experience to treat patients with yoga therapy. And I came to know about S. Vyasa, that is Swami Vivekananda Anusandhan Samsthan. It is in Bangalore, outskirts of Bangalore city, near Jigni. And they have a beautiful Gurukula cum university setup, which is away from city's hustle and bustle, and very serene atmosphere. And we used to have, fixed routine there. We used to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, that is Brahma Muhurta. And we used to start with meditation, Vedic chanting, then asana practice, and then, all our lectures and practices used to be there. So I did my yoga therapy and master's degree in yogic science from that university. And from there I really developed that, holistic outlook towards yoga. And since then And till this point, I am still the student of yoga. I don't call myself, expert or master in yoga. I'm a still student, and I'm just sharing my knowledge, my experience with others. Now, last year in lockdown, I started with my company, that is Atman Yoga Consultant, through which I offer various yoga initiatives like various yoga classes, Vedic chanting, and yoga counseling sessions. And because it is now online, every yoga teacher's dream is to teach yoga to the world. So I think through this social platform, that dream has come true, that I can reach out to many people from all parts of the globe, and I just can share this beautiful sacred knowledge of yoga with everyone.
Thank you so much, Ketki, for giving a beautiful introduction. We are very glad that you had a great opportunity to do yoga in a very, very traditional and the more, blessed way of learning it, rather than learning it through online, or, because definitely teacher training course is not that easy, because, you have
No.
to be trained to teach others. So you had such a beautiful journey about yourself today, where you are up to. Probably that tells us, your journey through your study. So how did you actually get introduced to yoga? Because I can see that you have took that as your career, as a you got
Yes.
the idea of taking it as a subject in your career. So can you give us a
Yeah.
brief intro of your childhood days and yoga, and how you got into it? What inspired you to teach yoga to others?
Sure. See, when I, thought of taking yoga as a career, everyone was like, huh? Why you're taking yoga as your career? But then I could really see the depth of this subject and how it can help everyone's life to, make it more quality life. So it just happened that after 10th standard you get that long holiday, and luckily in my area in Mumbai, I got to know that there is a summer yoga camp going on. So I just thought there is nothing to do in the vacation, so let's join this camp. And I did just 1 month of this summer camp, but my teachers were so good. They developed interest in me, and because I was young, my body was flexible like every other person. So I used to enjoy these asanas, and they used to always tell me that Ketki, you perform each asana really very good, with ease. You do this, so why don't you do teachers training? And that time I really thought about it, whether shall I go into teachers training? Do I want to become a yoga teacher? Because my graduation was in interior designing. My father was architect, and he has got that established his own company and firm. And once I graduated, I part time I used to work with him in architect and interior designing field. But all the time at back of my mind, this yoga never went out. I always, it never actually left me. It always remained with me somewhere inside. And I always used to think that I should do something more in yoga. I have done the teachers training course, so side by side I started teaching yoga in those yoga centers in my area. But luckily, I got good friends and good teachers, that they continuously kept encouraging me that you should do this, you should do this, and it just happened.
Yeah, I
So
can
once
imagine.
I
I mean,
completed my teachers training, that went, or it took me to the other course, that is the philosophy, and that course, took me into the next stage. So I wanted to do something master's degree, but then I didn't want to do it in interior design. but something else which I really enjoy. At some point, it was conflict for me whether to pursue interior designing or to go in yoga. But I think, your inner voice, your inner that feeling always guides you. And I think that only took me this far.
Yeah, I can imagine because those who have really enjoyed doing yoga from the bottom of the heart can never leave yoga. Yoga never leaves them lifelong, isn't it? Even if you had breaks for whatever reason, it just comes back to you like a viral spread, and it spreads to the family as well. That's what I could sense, from my own experience as well.
Exactly.
So, how does it impact your family? I know you started in your young childhood, when you are doing some degrees, and but how did you later, when you were married and now I know you have your own family. So can you elaborate how that infected your family now?
Yes, of course, because when I do my yoga practice, and when I have got two daughters, they are 9 and 13 years old. So always when they were young, they used to watch me that what I'm doing. So whenever I go into a downward dog pose, they used to just imitate me. And I think just by observation, kids are very sharp and they have that grasping capacity. So just by observing, they, also used to follow all those poses and everything. And later on, when I, saw that they are enjoying doing this yoga, so even my husband and my two daughters, we all four of us try to do yoga together. And whenever this is the experience, because whenever you do yoga in the groups, it gives you more energy. It gives you that positive vibration. So, and when it is family yoga, you can share your experiences, or you're just, free to do without any hesitations. So, yeah, we enjoy doing yoga as family.
That's very true because if we can see one person doing yoga, it reflects actually in your personality and everything in your family. So the other members cannot just watch and not utilize the benefits of it. Isn't it? So obviously they want to try and slowly they'll be doing it. And eventually doing it as a family is really a blessing because
Yes.
anything when you do with more than one person, it gives you that positive vibe and energy because, all the
Yes.
soul is thinking the same thing, so obviously the energy would vibrate more, and obviously yeah, it takes
Yes.
us to the next level. That's very true. That's why people enjoy anything doing in a club or doing it with others because it's the same reason, isn't it?
I remember when I was in Bangalore on Ratha Saptami day, at the time of sunrise, all the members from that university, because they used to have like outdoor area, vast outdoor areas, and we did 108 Surya Namaskaras.
Wow.
So there were more than around 200 people doing together. So you just, get that energy. And even after 108 rounds of sun salutations, we were not at all tired or
Yeah,
exhausted. In fact, we were bouncing with positive energy.
that is very, very true. I totally admit that. So even today, when we go on, camps and things like that, or clubs to do yoga, then that's a completely different experience than you do it
Yeah.
at your home, isn't it? That's very true.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad that yoga has also infected your family and your surroundings and everyone. That's really great. So you said you have also done yoga as a therapy. So would you be able to elaborate that, please?
Yeah. There were in fact very yoga therapy courses, so many yoga therapy courses in Mumbai, but it was just the bookish knowledge. I was in search of some yoga school or a university where they have this facility to give us some opportunity to work with the patient. So in S Vyasa, they have hospital which is called as Arogya Dham, and people from all over the world, if they have any health issues, they get admitted there, they stay there, and they just get treated with yoga therapy for their ailments. And if you think that practicing just asanas it's going to cure your problem, no, it's not that. Because for us also, it was a residential course. When you live in a place where you are following a yoga lifestyle, right from morning till night, you're going through various activities specially designed to boost your health. So, yoga therapy works at various dimensions of a human personality or a human system. So, asanas or cleansing techniques like kriyas, we used to give them to our patients to overcome, maybe they have diabetes or asthma or acidity, headache, epileptic. There were patients having wide range of health concerns. So we used to give them these cleansing techniques as a therapy to work on their body. Also, few gentle exercises called as Sukshma Vyayama, because they work on your subtle body, that is, the prana. So after your body, the gross body, which is like bones, flesh, blood, muscles, there is a subtle body where the flow of prana or the life energy, life force, on that you need to work. And there, these Sukshma Vyayama play a very important role. Then also pranayama, the breathing techniques. Then for Manomaya Kosha, we used to have, Bhagavad Gita chanting, Vedic chanting, bhajan sessions. I remember in one of the bhajan sessions, in chanting bhajans and, chanting certain shlokas. Just by listening to these shlokas, these patients used to go in a trance. And that used to have immense impact, that positive impact to improve their condition. Also, we used to have yogic counseling sessions. So all this of staying in Arogya Dhama, the complete inner transformation, used to occur in these patients. While getting admitted to the hospital, they were a complete different personality. And while going out, they just have changed their perspective, outlook towards life, their own physical condition. So they were entirely a different person.
That's very nice.
So yoga is not only to achieve health benefits or just to lose weight or to overcome your anxiety and depression, but it is far more than that.
Yeah.
A single asana should transform you internally. Each day I should become a better person. Of course, it will help to overcome your physical condition, but then am I becoming better and better as a human being? I think that is very, very important, and yoga therapy can give you that.
So doing just asanas is not going to help. Therapy is a step more than asana. So living a lifestyle of yoga
Exactly. Yes.
makes a difference in your life, especially when you have ailments like diabetes,
Yes.
or even chronic diseases like serious headaches and acidity problems, gastrointestinal problems. A lot of problems
Yes.
could be solved using yoga as a lifestyle, but the person should really leave the bad habits, especially if they have drinking or smoking or eating junks, those things.
I think it's not that you should give on bad habits or wrong habits. Once yoga become part of your life,
It just leaves
automatically you will overcome your bad habits.
Exactly. That's what yoga makes you to come out of the bad
Yes.
habits, and then eventually it helps you to work on your body and create that magic touch, isn't it? Yeah, that's very
I
true.
think I have read somewhere that I remember this sentence, which I really, liked it. You retain only 10% of what you read, but 75% if you experience. And I think we as a students there, or they as a patients there, both were on the learning path, and we used to experience all these things, and I think that have lasted long with us till now, because by treating these patients, we got that experience that how therapy can work on a patient.
True.
So because yoga is a experiential science and it is a skillful art. So through experience only you can understand what is yoga.
I
Even
think
after reading a book, watching on the YouTube channel, you're not going to understand what yoga is unless and until you do it, you experience it, then only you will know its effects.
I think it's true with any science, isn't it? Because human body is such a complex system, and it's very difficult with science to just, make sure that one medicine or one technique works on one person. So they
Yeah.
have to do a lot of trial and error on various patients. Oh, if this didn't work, let's try this one out. If this didn't work, let's
Yes.
try this one out. So it's always a trial and error in the medicine as well. So obviously yoga is same too. Not everybody is flexible by nature, so we need to take it slow on some people.
Yes.
So obviously, yeah, these techniques, takes time on some people. For some, maybe it's an instant thing. A single statement, can actually work miracle on their brain, and they can just leave everything, so quickly.
Yes.
Whereas with somebody, it's a huge struggle. They may struggle for months together, but eventually they'll get there with practices and with support, and masters like you, especially, who can help them to realize
Yeah.
things better, isn't it? So yoga as a
I
therapy is
think
definitely good.
yeah, Arogya Dhama, the atmosphere was so conducive
Yeah,
that just by being in that atmosphere, people used to get healed.
that's very true, because it's a like-mindedness, isn't it? So you don't have any
Yes.
distractions over there. You have like-minded people doing similar stuff. So you work towards
Yes.
prana, positive energy. You work towards your goals. So you know why you've come there, and yeah, therapy works well if you're in that situation rather than doing it remotely. Yeah, I have
Yeah.
visited few places like that in India, because when I was about like 23, I came into yoga and naturopathy because I just wanted to
Mm-hmm.
lose weight. So I came to a small clinical center where it's like an inpatient, like you just go and admit yourself, like not admitting, it's not a hospital, but it's just a place where you stay like for 2 weeks and learn
Okay.
naturotherapy, how to eat sensibly, and how to do yoga sanams, and what are the other techniques, to lose weight and
Yeah.
to keep your body and mind stable. So I've been there for 15 days, and that changed my life totally.
Great.
So I can imagine, so similar places, obviously, where I was, actually it's in Chennai, it's a very small place, but there could be much more bigger places, where they could have infrastructure and designs to do it in a
Yeah.
much more robust way to cure more ailments as well. I can imagine it's a wonderful
Correct.
thing for people
And the
rather than go
speciality
on.
of our university is that there is a research center. So lot of research goes on in SVYASA,
Yeah,
and they are trying to make it as a evident base approach, because when it comes to modern science or medical doctors, they always want to know whether it is evidence based.
that is very true. Yeah, we need the evidence based
Yeah,
research
so
to.
they have published so many research papers that how yoga works on treating cancer, diabetes, asthma, back pain. So it's amazing work Dr. Nagendra and Nagaratna are doing, and we are blessed to have these two. They are brother and sister, and they are doing just amazing work.
So yeah, I've heard about Yes Vyasa. They're very big organization who's really specialized in this. So I'm glad that you had an
Yes.
opportunity to work and learn, from that institute as well. That's really nice to know for people who want to experience the yogic therapy. That would be a great place to start with, isn't it? Or even to come to you if they are in the UK to get started with that. That's really nice to know that, because
Yes.
I don't like taking pills for you know some simple diseases, like these things. So unless until you're really, like, if you're meeting an accident, then obviously you need a medicine to
Correct.
put you in
Yeah.
painless mode and take whatever stuff. But if you're having other ailments there where there is a root cause to be treated first, then we should
Yes,
take the natural route of this yoga
exactly.
as a therapy, which might help them to recover rather than
Correct.
getting into more, addicted to
Yes.
tablets, isn't it? Yeah,
Yes.
there are a lot of
Yes.
scientific evidences these days. When people start to take diabetes tablets, they only can
Yeah.
aggravate your insulin levels more worstly, and they have to go on
Exactly.
the next level of tablets, and then eventually
Yoga
they'll run out of
has
tablets.
that immense power to bring in change in your physiological condition of the body. So it can really rejuvenate your pancreas to secrete insulin again.
Yeah,
And not only to secrete the insulin, but to push it to your bloodstream.
exactly. Yeah,
Because once you become insulin insensitive, even in spite of producing insulin by your pancreas, you still have high glucose levels. So
exactly,
what yoga is helping you to have that physiological change within your system,
exactly.
and it just works amazingly on your body and mind. But only the thing is, you should have that open mind,
To try.
little bit of
Yeah,
patience,
yeah.
that at least practice yoga sincerely for 6 months, and you will definitely see change in your condition.
Definitely, yeah. You need to be passionate about what you're trying out and doing it. So if you don't have the confidence, then it's not going to work. You need the patience and
Yeah.
confidence. So eventually you'll get there. That's so nice and beautiful.
Correct.
Thanks for explaining that, Kiki. Yeah, I am a strong believer of natural, naturopathy, natural things. Just
Mhm.
work with nature. And I don't like tablets, medication. So I always welcome such
Because
natural things.
nowadays, even people approach me for any yoga therapy, they tell me list of tablets they are on
I
right
know.
now.
Yeah, these days so many people have so much of tablets,
And this
at a
is, I
young
think,
age.
has become common with everyone,
True,
because
true.
if I can't sleep, I have to take
Yeah,
tablet. If I have high blood pressure, I am on the tablet.
yeah.
But no,
You don't need
it's
it.
just going to help you to reduce the symptoms what your
Exactly.
body is showing,
Not the root cause.
and it's not going to correct anything at the subtler level. So if you want to bring that inner correction, you have to do something long lasting, and I think yoga is a lifelong practice.
Yeah. It
uh,
should be in your
at
lifestyle.
at first place, it will help you to prevent
Diseases.
having any diseases.
Yeah.
But in case you're already
Having disease,
uh, have got,
then we can
you
try to use it
can
as well.
overcome that with yoga therapy.
Yeah. So it's a prevention is better than a
because
cure.
because nowadays everyone is stressed out, and what stress is doing is the fast aging of the body, the degeneration of the body.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, yoga helps to regenerate your organs, your glands.
Yeah, so it's not too
So
late to even every if you want to start yoga at any age, it's not too late, isn't it? Because your whole body is rejuvenated and regenerated every 7 years. You have a new body. So even if you start
yes.
today with your healthy habits, in the next 7 years, we are going to have a new body. So I'm sure it's not never too late to start. Yeah, that's very true.
Yoga will help slow down this degeneration and the aging process,
True.
uh, because it focuses on aims at slowing down.
Yeah.
And right now we are just in a hurry, always running, fast paced life. There is no more opportunity to pause and listen to our own body and
Yeah,
mind.
that's
So
very true.
whenever you roll out the mat and practice yoga, you
You listen.
instantly connect with yourself.
Yeah.
You connect with your body, you listen to your mind, your inner voice.
Yeah.
You know yourself better, because yoga is one of the Shat Darshanas.
Yeah.
Why it is called as Shat Darshanas? Because it acts like a mirror where you can see your own reflection.
That's true.
It shows you what you are.
That's very true. So, what do you think about bringing yoga in school curriculum for children to learn yoga as a part of their, activities. So in this country, we have seen they have a lot of tools for the physical, aspects, but not for the mental aspects. And I find the mental well-being of the children has always been a big question mark, and especially this COVID has highlighted them quite a lot.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking, and I was browsing a lot of evidences and research based yogas, and yoga as therapy or yoga in school curriculum. So there are a lot of countries which were very proactive, and they have actually done a lot of researches and published evidence based researches as well as a paper. And some of the nations have already implemented it, and some of them are still having a debate whether to do it or not. But having said that, some of the schools have already started them as an extracurricular activity, which means only like children who have an interest or a passion to it will try. Probably not every
Yeah,
single
they can join yoga as a club.
But in my olden days, where we had yoga, in our school as a tradition, at least in some parts of the India, yoga was mandatory as a school curriculum, like in RE and PSHE. So we had yoga as a part of your school curriculum. So where we always are allowed to sit down and pause and think and focus on the breathing, etc. So I find that my childhood days have been more happier and very less stressful. And even today, working in a fast-paced life is not easy. Where I'm able to manage it through yoga, whereas these kids nowadays, I can see a lot of problems arising. So I was just thinking, if they implement yoga at school, that might actually resolve a lot of issues. Probably children learn this tool, a phenomenal tool, even though it's a simple
Yes,
one, I would still
absolutely.
call it. So they can actually use it whenever they need in their life. So it's a lifetime skill that they will get it, irrespective of any differences, or because if you want to learn it, then
I
at the
think,
moment you have to spend.
whatever childhood is always close to our hearts,
Yeah.
isn't it? All those childhood experiences last long in our lives. So I think if yoga becomes part, as a school curriculum, uh, because whatever comes from a teacher in the school, I think children listen to them.
Exactly, that's very
If
true.
their mother or father will tell, they will not listen. But when it comes from their teacher in the school, and when they will practice yoga with their,
Children.
other friends in their classroom, I think it's a very in a fun atmosphere, and they will enjoy it more rather than thinking it as a boring or something, that activity. Because right now I'm conducting children's yoga, even if it is online. Every child from my class awaits for the next class, and that is a very good sign.
Yeah, I saw
And
your
just
Easter.
by knowing that, I get tremendous energy that yes, these kids are enjoying yoga, and what shall I teach in my next class? So I equally look forward to it, and we both enjoy doing it together. So if children get it, yoga as a self-helping tool, that can lay a very strong foundation in their early years. And nowadays, when we see that we just simply cannot face any challenging situation or a stressful situation, and we just become confused, or we are always in conflicts, and we simply don't know what to do. So if these children get something like yoga in their early years, it will definitely help them, and at some level we can uh, reduce these mental health issues.
Yeah. So, like, if children are in general, some of the children have thought like yoga is very slow paced, and it's boring or it's difficult to learn. I can't move my body, I can't sit down, I can't bend. They have a lot of, things going on. But those who are really passionate about yoga, they really enjoy it. That's the thing. So, if it's given at school, it means like you are giving them an opportunity to try, and obviously that will
Yeah.
create a good impact on every single child.
Yes.
Definitely than doing nothing is what is my thinking as well.
I see every child is different. So in my class, some children are so smart and wise. Even I talk about some chakras, they are so interested and curious to know about the chakras. And I wonder, oh, these children are really interested to know about, chakras and how these energy centers work. Some are motivated just by doing asanas. So one of the student Ishwari, she drew a beautiful picture of Padmasana, a girl sitting in a Padmasana, and she showed it to me next day. So I think maybe looking at their friends, what they are doing, they get motivated, they get inspired to do these things. And also teacher plays a very important role. If a teacher teaches in a very creative way where children can relate, how asana can help them to maybe focus more, or sustain that attention for a long time. So it's just that you have to be little creative when it comes to children. But I have a very positive experience because it's my 10th batch with children's yoga, and every child in my class enjoys yoga thoroughly.
That's nice to hear, Keki. We saw your Easter yoga, the yoga for children based on Easter theme last weekend. My daughter really enjoyed well, and my friends as well. So it was really nice. So that yoga inspires even a small kid, basically, isn't it? It's mainly for the small children. So yeah, you need to be very creative and fun based and create a lot of things around it and make it more working for the child. I totally admit it.
Correct.
So that's very nice to know. But if you wanted to think about RE, so RE, if you ask children, do you like RE? Obviously, they say even that is so boring subject, mainly because that is also simply sitting and doing something which they don't even understand, belonging to another culture or religion. But if RE is not implemented, as a mandatory subject in your curriculum, then we can all know how chaos would be the world, isn't it? So I think the government should step in and look at the curriculum and see if they have more tools on physical education, but not on mental education. And I think they need to add yoga as a tool.
Yeah, one important point I need to mention here is that yoga is not limited to any particular religion.
Exactly.
It's just a science, like allopathy, like Ayurveda, like homeopathy, naturopathy. Yoga is a sheer science.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with any religion.
Yeah.
So if you're a Hindu, just by practicing yoga, you will become a good Hindu. If you're a Christian, if you're practicing yoga, you will become a good Christian. If you're Muslim, you will become a good Muslim. It's as simple as that.
That is very true. Thanks for clarifying that. Yeah, yoga is secular, and that's been published as well as a paper, and there is an evidence-based paper as well, so which we all know. I think there is no doubt, nobody is in a position now to debate on this. I think they all understand it's a universal tool rather than a tool based on religion. But RE is a religious based subject where children find it difficult to understand, mainly because every single child has to understand the other culture and religion. When you're not exposed, it is quite difficult to learn that at school. But they have to learn it, otherwise they cannot appreciate the other children and they cannot work together, as a team. So I think it's very important, because now yoga has been primarily done by people who have knowledge on yoga and the science behind it, and also people who have access through their cultural practice, like Hindus, Jains, Buddhists. So these communities, they have traditionally accessed by their culture. And in the Western countries, there are many people who does yoga very religiously, mainly because they understand the evidence-based researches and have the wide knowledge of the science behind yoga. But if you see the world population, then we are missing out 80% of the crowd, which don't have the privilege to learn about yoga or to even understand what is yoga about. Because when we worked on a petition created for this yoga, then at that time I had a lot of various questions being raised by people. Oh, is it not something as an extracurricular? Do we really need it at school curriculum? Then when I address them that why RE is curriculum is mandatory in a curriculum, it's the same reason we need yoga as a phenomenal tool for a mental development and mental peace. So the children can practice it from childhood, and they can, it's a it's a prevention than cure technique where you learn that and cope up your life
Correct.
situation. So if RE is a mandatory subject, then why not yoga could be a complementary
Thank you.
tool to work with it when you have, you know, more and more ball games, not just one ball game. I've been fascinated when I heard what are the ball games, how many ball games would you play at school, like volleyball, netball, football, handball, this ball, that ball. Oh my gosh. But you have, and I'm not saying as a negative thing, I'm saying it's a positive thing that you have so many
Yes.
tools for your physical education, which is great. But
Yes.
there is a huge gap. They miss the mental aspects totally. Just sitting down and talking about religious things is not going to give children the idea. They need a tool. Tool means which works on the physiology, on the mind,
Exactly.
which
And
works.
that's why
Yeah,
yoga is not a sport.
exactly. It's a tool.
Yoga
It's a
is
technique.
not a form of exercise like you
Exactly.
do aerobics or gym. It
Yeah.
will bring that inner transformation,
Exactly.
and that's why yoga plays its unique place,
Yeah.
or has its unique place. It's
Yeah.
not a sport, because
No.
people just think like a badminton or swimming or football. Yoga is another sport.
No.
So no,
That's
yoga
true.
is not a sport.
So yeah, so I think now because at least now the Western countries have proved that it is working well on the mind and body. So we are able to see a lot of yoga teachers evolving. So hopefully, the government should think this is the right time. COVID has brought a lot of mental health issues, especially amidst the teen children and the university children and the old age people. So I have a friend who's working in mental health department. So yeah, these are the prime aged people who are being terribly affected during this COVID time due to social distancing, where they were not able to accept the facts that they cannot meet each other. So a lot of children in the university have lot of issues going on. Similarly, teen children who want to meet up their friends have loads of issues. Similarly, the old people who are not allowed to meet, their even their own family or any of their neighbors or friends have been really suffering a lot. So I was just wondering if this tool is already in place, that would have at least give them a conscious awareness of the problem and how
Yeah.
to tackle the situation. Because
Exactly.
I've noticed,
It's unless and until you're not aware about it,
yes,
you're not going to
tackle it.
work towards it.
Exactly. Yeah. So this yoga is what creates that consciousness of the situation and the way to handle it better. Because in our home, to be honest, this whole year was very smooth, and we never had any problems because we are very conscious of the situation, and the tool, the regular practice also is helping us. So we were totally enjoying the bliss of ourselves and our surroundings, just with the nature. So I think that's a huge missing thing. That's what I've noticed. And that is the idea of, I've started this YouTube channel along with my family members, mainly my daughter. She's inspiration. She's been longing to create this for a longer time. And we said we create this channel for creating an awareness of yoga to the world, to the public. So, we started this only about a couple of months ago. So we started this journey of sharing our experiences of yoga. Of course, we are not masters, we are not like you, but we know little tidbits of what I've been doing so far, and I've been,
because once you do your own practice, it will take you one step closer to yourself.
Exactly. So
And that is the ultimate aim of yoga. It's nothing that you should be expert or master in this science. It's not that if you're practicing advanced postures, then only you're expert in yoga.
No, that is very
It's not
true,
like
isn't it?
that.
Yoga is, I learned that, it's a very shocking thing. People just think, turning upside down is yoga, or doing complex poses is asanas, is what yoga is all about. But yoga is not about that. It's a
You can
self-realization.
connect to yourself.
Exactly.
If you can, focus on your breathing.
Yeah.
If you can train your mind to stay in this moment,
Yeah. Yeah.
then it's working for you.
Exactly. It's not too late to start at any age. That's one thing. But at the same time, starting with young children at school, it will be a very, very great, create a very good impact on young children, because anything you start as a child will be in your memory forever. It will be like in your muscle memory.
Yes.
So I think at least government takes some sort of steps, or at least people should be aware of these things and start, because when I heard that children are not wanting to spend that extra money to learn yoga as an extracurricular thing, that's when it triggered, okay, yoga should be then a part of school where they learn it along with the other subjects, which will
Yes.
at least give us the full benefit of it. Let's see how this is going to work. But yeah. Okay, so going on, I think we are doing nice descriptions about a lot of things going on. But I want to ask you one question. I think probably that's something I'm not really great at, which is mantras. I know you also did your mantras and Vedic chanting and all those stuff in your curriculum as well. I know Vedantas, have a lot of chantings and mantras. I know their benefits and other things, but to be honest, it looks very complex if you want to learn at your later age. Say, for example, I learned about it only at the age of 23, 24. So at that age, I did not have patience to learn them. But it would be good to hear from you. What is the advantages of learning mantras, or even to hear mantras if you're not able to, pronounce it? But
Yeah.
is there any benefits of just listening to mantras? And just wanted to hear more about that, because I'm having a zero knowledge on that subject here.
No, that's true. See, anything like sound, touch, has great impact on our human system, especially our nervous system, now the brain. Uh, Now, because our Vedas and all this in Sanskrit language, the first hurdle comes for people, oh, I'm not very good at, Sanskrit. Then how I can chant the mantras? Okay, you can at least start listening to the mantras, even by listening to Sanskrit language, because Sanskrit is a very powerful language. Whatever the phonetics and all the letters it has great impact on various parts of our body, so it acts like stimulation at various centers in your brain. So even if you can't chant in Sanskrit, you can listen to the other chanter, or you can just put it on YouTube and listen to different Vedic chants. But why Vedic chants? Because it has it's a very technical way of chanting. So your sound goes up, down, or elongated. So you're training your also voice box to chant those mantras in a particular way. So if you have learned Vedic chanting, then that mantra has to be chanted in that way. You cannot change its pattern. So even if you don't understand the meaning of the mantras initially, that's fine, because I have tried this experiment with my daughters. When they are going to the school early, like in the morning, and when I make up their hair, I chant mantras with them.
That's nice.
And just by listening to it, they could remember all the mantras. Now, you just think about children bringing up in this country, they even not aware of their mother tongue. Forget about the Sanskrit. But even Sanskrit is a complete new language for them. Just by listening to it every day, now they have remembered most of the mantras. And also in a Vedic chanting method. So, mantras can impact you at a very deeper level. Now, just imagine when you have a fight with someone, where there is a lot of anger, and the other person is throwing some bad words towards you. What kind of feeling you get? you get that negative vibration, negative energy, and you just feel pathetic. You don't feel nice and good. Correct? So if the words are said in particular way, you feel bad or you feel negative. Similarly, when you chant mantras in a particular way, they create a very, very positive ambience within you.
That's very true.
Physiologically and psychologically, it creates an ambience within you. Now, when you go to a restaurant or a hotel, when you go there, it has a particular ambience. And then you feel, oh wow, this is nice. Similarly, when you chant mantras, it creates that sattvic, positive, serene atmosphere within you. Your body is nothing but a place where your atma, your soul is residing. So you're creating that positive ambience within you by chanting mantras, and it has great impact on your nervous system. It instantly calms down your nervous system. It if you're in a bad mood or you're a very angry person, it can transform you at a mental and emotional level. It can bring change in the brain wave pattern.
It
So
also improves memory, isn't it?
yes, it will help to improve your memory, focus, concentration, your creativity, your decision making ability, your cognitive skills can be improved by chanting mantras.
Yeah, in
So
our
it is a very, very important aspect of practicing yoga. So if you're a yoga practitioner, you should make chanting, some form of chanting as a part of your life. You remember in our childhood, every evening we used to, chant certain shlokas,
simple ones, isn't it? Even in your
simple shlokas.
World Yoga Day, you had offered a good taster session for all the young children and to everybody. So I think we learnt Om meditation, like
Oh,
chanting Om and Om. Yeah,
yes.
chanting from you. That was
Just
really good.
chanting Om
Yeah,
can
can do miracles. That's true.
influence your personality.
Yeah. So yeah, there is a lot of things of chanting, but sometimes it's just that it's a very unknown language, and it's also quite tricky to understand the meanings,
Yeah.
etc. So it takes a bit of time for people who wants to
It
take that
will take
step.
time, but I think if you will keep on listening to it, you will easily memorize it.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice to know that as well. I think you are doing Vedic chanting sessions as well,
Yes.
isn't it?
As a part of my, MSc in yogic science, I learned Vedic chanting, and I thoroughly enjoyed doing it. And soon I'm starting Vedic chanting courses, level 1, 2, and 3.
So Sanskrit is not your
So,
mother tongue, so you learnt it in your curriculum then.
in school, I have learned Sanskrit, but again, it was just for getting marks and nothing else. I used to hate Sanskrit grammar. But when it comes to chanting, you don't have to do anything with the grammar.
Okay.
There are certain chanting rules. You have to just remember those things. And the way your teacher is teaching you to pronounce, because here the pronunciation is very, very
It's a
important.
sound basically, isn't it? Rather than the meaning of it.
Yes, exactly. So only chanting these sounds will have great impact on your
Nervous
system.
system. Yeah, that's true.
That is very important, the pronunciation. So there are certain rules to follow while chanting Vedic mantras. Once you are, acquainted with these things, you don't have to really go into that grammar part of,
Okay.
the language.
Okay.
So you can easily pick up.
Nice one to know, at least, those who don't want to learn Sanskrit but then want to at least make use of mantras can reasonably start
Exactly.
with listening and then slowly starting with Om chanting and a little bit small sloka, like,
Yeah.
simple ones like.
So in level 1, I'm going to start with Dashashanti mantras. So there are very 2 or 3 line mantras, that's it. And just by listening to them every day, you can easily remember these mantras.
Okay, that's nice. So now with COVID, I think everything has become online now. So I'm sure you're also teaching yoga through online medium in Zoom or Teams or
Yeah.
whatever the tools you've got. So earlier, traditionally, we were having a physical session because we think yoga should be taught physically, so we can monitor and help
Yeah.
them to understand the postures well, and see whether we've got the full control of the postures, body, and everything. But I think doing yoga is better than not doing at all. So I think this
Yeah.
COVID time has given us an online platform forum. So how do you feel the online platform versus the traditional platform
Hmm.
for teaching yoga?
See, of course, when you're face to face, you have that direct experience. But being on online, I think it's a great time and energy saver. People don't have to get ready, get into the car, park somewhere, find some parking space. That is also a stressful thing. And go to a yoga class in a yoga studio. Yes, of course, there it's a like socializing aspect is there, but online where I can see the advantages of bringing yoga, because all many activities now have come up online, so why not yoga? Even everyone saves on energy and time, and also I think the advantage is that when you are in person, like face to face, you're doing yoga, students become more reliable on a teacher, that even if I do wrong, teacher will come and correct me. I'm not very much bothered about it, or I'm not very much aware of my own body. But now, when it is online, people are more aware that whether I'm doing it right or no, because there I cannot go and physically correct them. So, here the advantage I can see is that while doing yoga online, they are more aware of their body movements, how they are going into the posture. And I think if your demonstration is simple and clear, neat, and your instructions are very, to the point, they can follow you uh, almost like, 90%. I don't find any, that gap that I cannot deliver what I want to, teach. Because right now I have conducted so many classes online, and luckily I haven't got any complaint from anyone that in spite of doing 12-week course, I cannot do this or couldn't understand this. So my experience was very positive and good. Even yoga is online, but only the thing what people need to take care is, uh, while they are attending a yoga class online, see to it that they are getting trained with a good yoga teacher, which is well trained and well experienced. Don't go to anyone who is doing a yoga class. So just try to uh, understand that that teacher is equally good. And when you are practicing at home, see to it there are no other disturbances, that kids are not coming in between and disturbing you, or if you have got pets, they are not coming in between in your practice. So have that full concentration when you're doing online, and keep your videos on, because many a times what happens, some people just ask me, can I keep my video off? And then I said, you're at the disadvantage, because I cannot see you what you're practicing. So please keep your videos on if you're attending a yoga class online. So at least on the video I can see you, and if you're doing any mistakes, teacher can correct you.
Yeah, that's true. So we don't have to really touch physically and help to change postures like earlier days, because now people have a lot of ailments in the body, backache, neck ache, and all those things. So we should let them to do their own comfort and in their own way.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
online platform is definitely not a bad choice when it can save us a lot of time and travel. Yeah.
And as I've said that, as I can reach out to many more people, people from any country can just take advantage of that, because if I'm doing yoga in my, yoga studio, only local people can come and attend the class.
True.
But here, even if someone wants to do yoga with me, but just because of the distance and these things, they are, not or getting that advantage. But because it is, I think, online,
I think
it's a blessing.
Yeah, it's everybody used to now the online platform now. So yeah, thanks to COVID, at least for this. COVID has brought to light a lot of things. So yeah, this is one of
yes. And I think we should always see the positive side.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Without COVID, it would have been, like still only a choice to people. Now it's like a mandatory thing. Yeah, either you do yoga or do nothing. So it's better to start with online.
And I would suggest that keep a particular place in your house. That place you should keep constant. One day in one room, other day in other room. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Just keep one place in one room constant. When the weather improves, even in your back garden, you can just place the mat and practice your yoga outdoors, because you will get that plenty of fresh air and sunlight, which we all, deprive here going outside.
Yeah, I think they say that, isn't it? It's better to do it in the same place every day, so that your body's that Suchama Sarira will work very well if you fix to
that place. And you automatically go into that zone. You get those vibrations once you go in the same place and practice it in the same.
But on a very good sunny day, it's good to do it in a garden, which is also
definitely
definitely a good one. So hopefully, if the things don't, even after COVID, I think we should continue this online platform for people who would prefer probably, and have a once in a while, physical session, so they also get some interaction and social, mixing as well. So that would be great as a mixture. Yeah.
In fact, I came to know from some of the yoga teachers, now people are not ready to come in the studios and do yoga. In fact, they just want it online. So that change has now occurred.
You feel as if you're all doing in the same room, isn't it? Because you have the same vibe, because you have everything physically. You're able to see the other people over the tool as well, and you don't find the difference. Even in the meetings, I always sense that we don't feel as if we are in a different room or at home at all. So it just feels that we are not missing anything much. That's very true. So I think pretty much we have covered most of the aspects of the part. I think the one which I wanted to ask you is all about the vegetable diet, or a vegetarian diet. Sorry. What do you think about the vegetarian diet versus non-vegetarian diet? Is that going to make any difference for people who does yoga? Because obviously for people who eat loads of meat, the proteins are quite different. The fibers formed out of the animal protein is completely different to the proteins formed from the plant proteins, So obviously they find it more difficult because they have a very muscular, strong body and rigid fiber. So they're not even able to sit down, in a normal Padmasana or any normal pose sit down in the ground. But they can actually use some pillows to sit down. Whereas with our vegetarian food, we are able to sit down very quite comfortably, very well, and do all the flexible postures, because our fibers are a little bit different and not as rigid as the non-vegetarian diet. So there had been a lot of controversies saying that, if you want to do yoga in a very full-fledged manner, you should follow vegetarian diet. So just want to hear from you your experiences on diet, on yoga practice.
See, it's not mandatory that if you're a yoga practitioner, you have to be a vegetarian. It's, I think, because we are brought up in different traditions and cultures. Now, think about a person brought up in Bengal. Fish is his staple diet. a person from a Western country, he has brought up eating meat. See, anything in excess, it can be vegetarian or non-vegetarian, anything in excess is bad. So yoga always talks about the balance thing, or try to bring balance in every activity, in every aspect of your life. Now if you're eating meat but in, you know, uh, moderate form, that's fine. It's because, see, we are not yogis. We are yoga practitioners. Now those yogis who are really in a very advanced stage of their practice, they used to have a vegetarian diet. The first reason is it is simple for the digestion. So most of the body's energy is utilized to uplift the consciousness, which is the main purpose of yoga. Correct? And the energy of the body is not utilized in digesting the food, because in meat there is much of protein which is not required for a yogi's body. Now if you want to do a bodybuilding and, you know, muscle building, those people need more protein. But for a yogi whose aim is to, you know, because yoga is a moksha shastra, and always yoga's aim or the purpose of doing yoga is to liberate. And those who are yogi, they used to follow a very simple diet. They just used to have fruits and, you know, simple vegetables which are not very hard to digest. So that is the main point. And I think when you are practicing yoga for quite a long time, your body will tell you what food choices you're going to make. So it's not that if you're eating non-vegetarian, if you're eating non-vegetarian food, it's going to affect your practice. Or if you're on vegetarian diet, it's going to, you know, bring lot of progress. Of course, if the food is simple and easy on digestion, it gives less burden on your system, because our basically system is not meant to digest meat.
That's true.
But because we are brought up in different traditions and cultures, and if you're eating meat or fish or all this stuff right from the childhood, that gradual change will occur, because when you practice yoga, you become more sattvic.
Exactly.
And the sattvic food is very simple food. So that change can occur naturally to you. It's not that if you are practicing yoga, you have to give up on your food habits. It's not like that. But it can transform you with the practice. And if you are making a choice of eating vegetarian diet, fair enough.
Very well said, Keki. Yeah, very well explained actually. Yeah, that's true. We should not cut down the food. The food will itself run away from us. That's true. We need to make our body
Exactly.
to understand that change, isn't it?
See, because it will create awareness in your eating habits, how you can maintain your healthy body weight, you know, out of emotional eating. These are the cravings. Then you eat chocolate or junk food, isn't it? But if you are practicing yoga, you're aware enough that, you know, what should go in my body and what should not.
That's very
If
true.
you're a yoga practitioner, you're quite aware of that part of the, you know, lifestyle as well.
That's very true. I've noticed myself if I take a break from doing yoga, then I start eating haphazardly, junks, crave for, junk food, and also, have very lethargic lifestyle. Whereas when I start doing them again, I feel more energetic. I don't want to eat junk food at all. So obviously, doing that, the prana that you get itself is a food.
It's not only choice of food. I have experienced myself the choice of movies I watch.
Really?
It's
That's
it
nice to
sounds
hear.
funny, but yes.
That's nice,
If
yeah.
the film is meaningful, if it has got really good message, then I watch the movie. Otherwise, I watch very less television and the movie stuff. I'm not at all a movie buff.
Yeah,
But that transformation will occur with your yoga practice.
that's true.
Every choice will be gradually change.
Yeah.
It's not only related to your food, but every choice you make in your life.
Yeah. Also, I've noticed that, if you do yoga very religiously, very, very well, then your food intake also comes down, isn't it? Because the prana itself acts as a food, isn't it? So
Yeah.
we always think, eating a physical food is a food, but nobody realizes that prana, which is the air part, is part of our food as well,
But I think
which I
that can occur at a very advanced level.
that's very true. But
Yeah.
I had that feeling very well for a few years actually when I was religiously practicing, without even a day off. I used to eat very less. People ask me, "Oh, is this much you eat?" I said, "Yeah, I'm not hungry anymore." And my last food would be the meal would be like 6:30, and they say, "What time do you go to bed?" I go around 9:30, around 10. Do you not hungry then after 6:30 if you eat so early? I said no, I'm fine. I'm more fine with that, to be honest, rather than eating at 8 o'clock and sleeping at 9:30. So yeah, I think not many realizes that. I think that transformation can happen within you and only you can experience that. It's very hard to prove to others
And
this is
no
possible.
one should tell you that what you should eat and how much should
Yeah,
you eat.
yeah.
You will get those signals from within, I think.
Yeah, that's very true. I think if you open a fridge, you can tell the family's diet and the history of everything. Because one of my friend opened a fridge and said, "Oh my gosh, this is the fridge that I've ever seen in any of the Indians' family ever before. I will never forget you in my lifetime." That's what the friend said. He stayed with us very for a short duration, for a month actually, from India to UK. And why? Because our fridge contained only milk, yogurt, fruits, and vegetables, and a pickle. That's it. We didn't have sauces. We didn't have any
No.
coke, or we didn't have any ice creams. We didn't have any junks in the fridge. Our fridge was in fact having more space on some of the days. Other than the day I do shopping, it will be full. But when I cook, and then it will be like half empty. And by the
Yeah.
time I want to go to the next shopping, it will be fully empty because I buy every week, or sometimes in the middle if I need a vegetable I may buy. But yeah, so but if you open the fridge of others' houses, you can see how much food is left in the fridge, which contains like chemicals and long shelf life
Correct.
products like tomato ketchups and other Chinese sauces.
In fact, I will emphasize more on freshly cooked home
Exactly,
cooked food
exactly.
than frozen
Frozen.
or stale or reheated food, because then the nutritional value will go down.
Definitely.
So instead of having those ready to eat meals, please, yeah, it's a bit, you have to put efforts and time consuming
Exactly.
sometime, but
Yeah. So you cook for
ask,
yourself.
everyone as a teamwork, you start doing cooking and have fresh food every day.
Yeah, so having ice cream once in a while is not a bad choice, but having stored them in the fridge and
Of course.
freezer every day and having them is what is the mistakes that people are doing. So, yeah, so as you said, I think you don't have to cut down the food, but the food will leave based on your practice, and we can all start to eat sensibly, have the consciousness towards eating, then it will make a change by itself. Thank you so much. That was really awesome explanation. I wasn't able
Thank
to
you.
explain this well, but yeah, you really, yeah, I know you are a master of, yeah, yoga
No.
science. Obviously, you can teach them in the right way. Actually, yeah, that's really nice. Hopefully, the people at least, even if you can
Hmm.
inspire one person, I would be really glad
Because
that we had the
what
session today.
what I have seen for most of the people, that okay, now I have given up non-veg food, and after 2 months they end up eating
Exactly.
meat.
Yeah, you don't want to, live without like with force or with compulsion or because you are doing something, isn't it? You should just have that coming out naturally. That's true.
So whatever you give up, then that should long last.
Yeah.
Whatever you're making choices, they should be with you for your lifetime. It's not that for 2 months you're not eating it and third month you're again starting it.
Yeah.
So with the practice, if that transformation is happening to you, then that is the correct path.
Yeah. So maybe they can start to reduce the portion. So that's something that they can consciously try to make it work. Over a period of time that might happen.
Yeah, even the portion will, if with your practice it's getting reduced naturally, then it's fine. You don't have to reduce your food portions.
That is true.
After every meal, you should be satisfied. Because food is not only for your body but for your mind, for your soul. So you should be satisfied at all levels. And whatever changes, choices are going to happen, let them happen on their own.
That's so nice for your time today here, Ketki, with us. So I hope everyone who's joined us today would have also enjoyed listening to our conversation. Thank you so much for spending your time with us this Easter break, and I hope
it was equally, nice to have this conversation with you. I equally enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, Ketki. I'm sure we will join again to discuss more in depth on other aspects of yoga and beyond yoga as well. So yeah, thank you so much, and we'll meet you in another occasion. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for those who have already subscribed to our channel, Master the Life. For those who have not subscribed to our channel, please click on the subscribe button in the center of this video so you could get more updates. On the left hand side, you could see the video to the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, and on your right hand side, you could see the playlist to healthy eating habits. So yes, please stay tuned for more videos. Until then, have a very good, happy and a healthy life. Bye.